For those of you who don't know me, I am Brandon Sorge. I am the Director of Operations for the iSTEM Resource Network. This is Karen Heilman from Eli Lilly and Company. She is the Six Sigma Black Belt that has been our workhorse through this process and figuring out how to implement a statewide inquiry-based science program. As was mentioned before by numerous people, we built a strategic plan about a year ago, based around having good curriculum, sustainable professional development, assessment and evaluation, material support, and administrative and community support or advocacy and support. But we had this plan, and what we needed to think about was, how do we implement this plan? What can we do to make this a good plan that can be enacted across the state of Indiana? And that's where Eli Lilly stepped in and lent us Karen to help us figure that out.
So, like Brandon mentioned, in 2009, Lilly became aware of this initiative, and we wanted to get involved and apply a private approach to a public problem. Lean Six Sigma combines lean methodologies with Six Sigma tools. Lean is really focused on efficiency and reducing waste, whereas Six Sigma aims to increase quality and meet customer requirements. So together, the two of them are a much more powerful approach to solving problems. Next slide. Deming, an American statistician who's well known for his work in Japan, increasing quality and innovation, said 85% of problems are based on processes rather than the people. So this echoes a point that Sally made this morning, that it's not about the teachers, it's about setting up a process that will enable them to be successful. So Six Sigma looks at the process as a whole in order to see where we can improve. Next slide. Some of the methodology behind Six Sigma, all organizations run on processes. These processes should be based on customer requirements. We should always be looking for ways to continuously improve these processes. And then also, improvements should be driven by data and root cause analysis. Next slide. So as I mentioned, in fall of 2009, Lilly partnered with the Department of Education, iSTEM, and BioCrossroads. We started a project to determine how we could implement inquiry science throughout the state. We know that some areas are already using research-based science, but we've heard that areas are struggling with professional development or costs, and we are trying to address those gaps in implementation and also make it available more widely. Our plan was to have infrastructure in place by 2010 in order to pilot for the 2010-2011 school year. Next slide. So the main goal of our project was to determine how we could implement a process for inquiry-based science throughout the state and keep it at a cost that does not exceed current textbook costs. Some of our measures include having 350,000 students have access to research-based curricular materials by 2011-2012. Also, in adopting districts that at least 80% of teachers who teach science would have received appropriate professional development. And then it's also expected that any school district who adopts this curriculum will show improvement on ISTEP within the next 6-year cycle. We did benchmarking. Our team reviewed various research from California, Washington State, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. We also went and visited Alabama, Delaware, and various places within Indiana. What we found is that the most successful places were able to provide these materials at a cost of between $8 or $14 per student. Many of the places had schools had lead teachers that took yearly PD. Down in Alabama, they actually have their teachers, also their principals, and even their librarian go through a week of professional development. In Delaware, corporations can funnel money into one central foundation, which allows for bigger impact and better changes. Also, these corporations lobbied for additional state funding. And across what we found in many different areas is that teachers only receive material if their training is current and up to date.
So when we did this strategic plan, one of the pieces of curriculum, we didn't just come out and say, we should use and adopt and get everyone to adopt these research-based modules that are out there. That wasn't the goal of the strategic plan. I don't want people to think that. We sat down and said, how can we get inquiry-based science education into all of our classrooms? And when we thought about it, we knew that high schools had access to most of the materials. The same could not be said, especially for K through 6. So one of the best ways that was out there to get these materials to them that were already created and research proven were through these kits. So our goal is to set up a comprehensive program that utilizes the new Indiana standards, draws from the best modules or kits from the multitude of publishers, and we provide schools and the state an instructional analysis tool that will help them compare these research-based kits versus traditional texts so that they can truly see these are meeting the new Indiana standards to the fullest. Great research study came back and said that students that were involved in research-based inquiry-centered science, and this was based on all of the research studies done, or many research studies done on the various things, found that those involved in this found science to be something that they could do. It was important in their lives. Students that were involved in just reading about science, that's all they did is sit and read about science, thought that science was hard to understand, were unconfident about science. So we wanted you to see what a classroom looked like that was involved with these research-based kits. So we want to take you out to see Rick Croslin from MSD Wayne Township at Stoutfield Elementary School to see what this looks like.